we have Shalav and Aman, who are basically from Microsoft, looking into AI agents and security, and how do you basically look at security and start to finish in your AI life cycle on the security part of it, right? So with that said, yeah, myself, Samik, I'm a Microsoft Security MVP, and then I'm really glad that both of you joined today for this wonderful webinar, and so that we can educate everyone around the life cycle of AI apps, wherein security, how security can come in, and where exactly, even you are a small business or you are an enterprise, how you can, engage security from the very beginning in the life cycle, and what are the common threats or common patterns how you should understand, and what are the, we'll also do some myth busting around the things, what is not a security and what is a kind of a myth, and help you understand how you can technically, for example, start with the model security and then keep the model safe and secure in whenever you're scaling or you're going into different kind of industries, right? So with that said, I would request a little bit of introduction to Shalab.
Yeah, so hello everyone. I'm Shalab. I'm a go-to-market manager for security, primarily handling the Protect Cloud and AI piece. I handle the India, GCR, and ASEAN markets. I have been in MS for over a decade, and my primary charter has been security for most of this time. So yeah, look forward to a healthy conversation.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Shalab. So again, I'll pass it on to Aman now. So over to you, Aman.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening. My name is Aman. I am Security Global Black Belt, managing or looking after the AI security part of it, building the story end to end for AI security. And yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you to both of you once again, and yeah, and anybody who is joining, if you have any questions, feel free to share or feel free to ask in the Q&A section. Would be happy to pick it up and then answer, right? So, Aman and Shalab, to get started, right? I mean, I would say we should get started with a very basic question: the need for security for AI, right? Like how AI is reshaping the security landscape, and then if you could just get started, like like kind of a jump start for our audience.
Yeah. So see, AI, of course, AI is the new cool thing that everybody wants and everybody has started using. Um, At least for myself, I don't go to Google or Bing anymore. At least maybe I go to ChatGPT or a Perplexity or anywhere, try to search for some details and come out. So AI, of course, has taken over very strongly. But as fast as we are adopting AI, it is very important to also see and plan for security for AI, because AI, it's always good to have new tools and technologies in your ecosystem, but that also you need to ensure the same security controls that you have before AI should be extended to AI as well. So on that note, of course, we and everybody has started becoming very serious about how AI security should be. And I think it should be from the design phase itself, from preparation phase itself, where you are buying a model, building an application. It is totally dependent on the data you use. So it becomes the responsibility of the person to ensure that they are taking care of end-to-end security for AI. And not only that, they should not work in silos, right? Connected to the already security program or a SOC that you have. So that is, I think, very important, and somebody should take care of it, or somebody should already start planning, if not planning already. And there are tons of reference model to begin with, and we will talk a lot of it in detail. But there are a lot of models available if somebody wants to just get started, maybe a Gartner Prism, maybe a NIST AI, RMF, and many more. So I think that's something that I would say maybe I will pass on to Shalap to add points.
Yeah, thanks, Aman. I completely, resonate with what Aman has said, that AI is being adopted at a very, very fast pace. The pace of adoption actually has been more than any other technology or anything else that we have seen, until now. Um, it- I mean, if you think about it, there was no large LLM even before COVID, right? And the user base that exists right now is just simply superb. But like Aman said, like there are a lot of challenges with it. We have already seen, because It's not just the AI that exists, it's the applications and protocols that are being built around it. And we have seen major incidents, let's say like the Superbase MCP incident, which happened some time back, or the Samsung data leak, which happened via an LLM a few years back because people just inadvertently typed the right code in the LLM. So those actually show us the dangers also which come with it. So we have to be very cognizant on the security aspect. Yeah.
So I think that that's really a good start, and start and get started, right? And as Aman and shall we give examples, and then I think the fundamental idea is the behavior of the consumer is changing, right? People stop using search engines, they start using the chat model, basically the free models, right? So it's more of a behavior shift, and obviously we are in the industry, or maybe even any industry you pick up, manufacturing, healthcare, right? I think everybody started using this chatbots, or I would say chat interfaces instead of search engines, right? So now the question is like, how do you position, or how do you tell our audience that is it a risk from an organization standpoint, or how do they approach this as a kind of security measure for that? Because everybody started using on their own, and then there are guardrails, but what's your take on that?
So maybe on this question, I might take some time, but I can walk you through some models or some framework that we are trying to adopt at Microsoft and we are trying to build. And
Yep.
then that can be a reference, of course, on how things can be adopted. So maybe I can also share my screen so that while we talk, it's always good to have something on the
Yeah.
screen while we talk, right? So I hope
Perfect.
the screen is visible. So
Yes.
what the framework that we are building is basically a four-step process, something like a preparation where you prepare when you are starting this journey, when you are buying a model, when you are building a model, when you are building an application over a platform like Azure OpenAI, AWS Bedrock. Then you move into discovery phase where you want to ensure that you have complete visibility, you have the processes set. So that's the discovery phase. And then protection, your ongoing protection for everything. And governance is a very, very important part with AI. So then comes the governance. So these are the four different ways that we are trying to do. I know this slide looks very, very high level. So let me go into detail now. So what can be a good reference point? And this is, of course, our approach. You can feel free to alter it. And I will also give you some options on how this can be altered. This is influenced and motivated by NIST AI RMF as well. So that's where it comes from as well. So preparation phase, we have the famous DMU model. DMU model means when I'm buying a model, uh, and for example, if I'm building a model as well. So DMU, I need to ensure DMU. That means data. The data is our access to the model itself, the security of model, and the usage. My employees, my team members are using the model. If somebody is asking how do I break into my board level documents? It should not give back the results. It should say, okay, you are not allowed to ask that. So that is usage, right? So data is basically data is the oil for AI. So data, you need to ensure there is no data poisoning, there is no biasness. If I can influence even a 0.1% of data, it can amplify because you don't know AI is referring to that particular point of data how many times for how many prompts.
Correct.
So even if you make, for example, a 1% change or biasness in data, it can result in a 10% biasness results and more than that as well. We can't even estimate it. So data is very, very important. The model security itself is very important. The hardening of models, the pen testing, to ensuring correct RBAC, they are using the right set of data, right set of controls. Now, if you are using a SaaS platform like we have Copilot, there is a lot of Lambdas and Groks available. So you might not be worried about model security in that case. But if you are building using a platform and building an application, or you are building everything from the scratch, the entire DMU becomes important. So data, model, and usage. What we are also trying to do is, and this might not be an industry standard, but what we have done is we have extended it to AVP, basically agents. Like when I talk about agents, you can see the last point.
Right.
Imagine I have 25 people in my team, and now I have started using 10 agents. So my Entra admin will now see it as I have 35 employees,
Okay.
10 human employees and sorry, 25 human employees and 10 machine employees.
Mhm.
So they need to ensure that every agent has an identity attached to it, a RBAC attached to it, access attached to it. Maybe I was discussing with someone, maybe they might not be able to go out of the network to do a two-factor authentication and all those things, but at least some basic principles should apply. It should not be if I built an agent, there is no accountability in what that agent is doing. Like in security itself, I will give an example. We have a phishing agent. Now, if I have a phishing agent and it is closing incidents on my behalf, it should record that, for example, Aman's phishing agent has done this activities and this
Right.
incident was closed or this. So everything should be audited, everything should be monitored, every agent should have an identity. Somebody should be able to control what or what not a agent can do. And when it comes to what they can do, basically it comes to vectors. Vector is nothing but your pieces of data, your files and everything. You need to ensure
Correct.
right machines, right models, right agents have right access to right things, and it is properly classified, properly all controls are in place. And lastly, just like cloud, we had API security. It became a very big thing. Similarly, for LLMs, it's protocol. Every LLM need a protocol to communicate. It can be MCP widely used, it can be A2A, AC, and a lot of them are there. But you
Correct.
need the protocol security as well. And then it gets more technical because, like for example, if you have a MCP server, if it's
Yeah.
in my container, I can do it very nicely. If it is somewhere else, I need to ensure that it is being monitored via a SaaS application and all those things.
Correct.
So depending on how you are structured, the protocol security comes into the picture as well. And of course, underlying infra, you need to ensure the storage, the containers, the servers, everything underlying, you need to ensure, which I'm assuming anyway will be in place. So this is the preparation model. Maybe I spent too much time in this
No,
pillar,
it's
but I
all good.
think,
It's really really interesting because you have really
yeah,
given deep dive for us to understand. So if I may just take out one point out of it, right? So what you were suggesting is like agents becoming new identities in the in the world of security, right? That's how we should first inject them. They are not like an application, they are like an identity, and then they are working as an application. So an identity tied to that. So you're also trying to give some responsibility around that, and that's where we evolve from there, right?
correct, correct.
Yeah.
And see, yeah, I think what you said is self-explanatory, but it cannot be that I built an agent and it goes and breaks a lot of things,
Right.
and that there
Right.
is no accountability
Right.
for the agent or for. And see, it's not about accountability also. It's about tracing. If I need to fix something, I need to know what's
Understand.
being done, right?
Yeah. That's
So
right.
I think it's very, very important. So that's the preparation phase. Now,
Okay.
if I move to the remaining three, which is more quick and easy, but discovery is once you have everything in place, you need to ensure your bill of materials, your inventory, everything is in
Mm.
place. It should not be like if I have 20 AI application in my phone and my
Mm.
phone is also used for official apps. So how do I distinguish? So bill of materials, inventory, data flow mapping, discovery. I should not be able to download a file from Teams on my
Yeah.
desktop and then put it into ChatGPT. Like Purview
Correct.
will not apply, not
Yeah.
allow that, right? So all those things becomes important. So that is your discovery phase, your risk assessment, your observability. You are capturing all data and trying to put it into a data lake, which
Mm.
goes to protect. Now, protect is your runtime monitoring, your posture management, your hardening controls, vulnerability check, red teaming, pen testing, map to MITRE Atlas, all
Yeah.
those things. Now, one more thing I want to bring to everyone notice, and you can see the last 2 points.
Right.
Currently, no SIM is ready. No SIM is ready for UEBA of AI applications. Not
Exactly.
only applications, the model, the agents, and
Yep.
everything. So
Yep.
that's where I'm sure everybody is trying to build a lot of use cases. So you need to ensure that your SOC is ready. Like
Mm.
in Sentinel, what we are trying to do, and maybe I can just show for the purpose to show, I can show you this slide. So
Right.
what we are trying to do is, for example, in Sentinel, or this is pen testing, my bad. Yeah. So UEBAs, as the name suggests, user and entity behavior. For now, entities have always referred to network identities, the firewalls, the devices, the IPS, IDS, and all. Now, to
Correct.
ensure your entities also include LLM agents, you need to have the new use cases in your SIM,
Yep.
like insider threat detection for user gets extended to agents.
Yep.
So I've listed down all. Maybe you might need some new use cases like model drift and security, which is not currently there because it does not
Right.
apply to a user, but it will apply to a model.
Yeah.
Similarly, if I show you the next slide, which is specifically for agents,
Yep.
abnormal agent behavior, anomaly in protocol activities, all those things. So the idea is that during runtime protection and during that protect phase, you need to ensure that your existing setup is also aligned and ready. And last comes the governance phase because AI is a kind of technology where you need to ensure governance. So you need to ensure you're following some governances like people in India are following Gartner Prism. People in India are following ISO 42001.
Right.
A lot of people are using NIST AI RMF, including us. People who have global companies exposed to Europe are also ensuring compliance to EU AI Act. And similarly, a lot of other countries have come up with their draft AI policy as well. I know India is also doing something on that. So
Correct.
you should have a responsible AI framework. You should have responsible AI dashboards. So this is a very high level view of how somebody should build.
Mhm.
I'm not talking yet about Microsoft and Microsoft tools, but this is like a framework that you can use and apply and something that we have built for end-to-end security for AI and agents.
So, I mean, thank you for sharing this, this detailed, way of adopting security for AI from the very beginning, right? So, what I want to understand a bit more is this a common framework across the industry, or these need a little bit of a tuning across organization or industries, or what could be the approach? Like, for example, let's say a CISO is taking a look at it versus a security manager is taking a look at it, right? What should be the compare and contrast between these two roles to look at the same approach?
Okay, so maybe I would give a 3-point answer to that. So see, first thing is everybody starts with looking at some sort of a framework, right?
Right.
So like NIST AI RMF framework, for example. So this is like prepare, discover, protect, the one that I mentioned. Now
Right.
this is the mapping that we did. And on the screen, you can see a lot of Microsoft tool names now.
Hmm.
Sorry. So you can see all those names. So this is how we tried to map everything. And then the previous slide I showed, we came up with controls and everything. Now, some companies also follow use cases.
Yeah.
So these are use case driven framework. Like for example, I want to focus to begin with, I want to focus on data leak and inaccuracy. So my
Right.
use cases or my controls, immediate control should be access endpoint control, SaaS app security, your posture management for AI, for cloud, for data, for everything, classification, labeling. Similarly, for vulnerabilities, then for agent, the third pillar, absolutely different and governance. So some people are approaching it from a use case point of view. So
Right.
NIST use case. Then third is like this is a sample rhythm framework, right? So some people are approaching in this way. Now, if I have to put it in a very simple way,
Correct.
this is the Gartner framework. And like on the right hand side, you see Microsoft products and capabilities that we are trying to map to ensure all this framework is met. So different people have different priorities and different frameworks.
Yep.
Since you have asked this question, maybe what I can also show is like somebody has to start and you want a very neutral view, then we have
Exactly.
roadmap,
I think, yeah,
LLMs,
this lot of
checklist.
fit, yeah, OS lot fits with a lot of security people because that's a very well-known
Correct,
term, which will also, kind of give a simulation in their mind that how do they actually get started, right?
correct. And
Um,
some companies, maybe, sorry, just one last point, maybe
yeah, yeah,
some
sure.
companies are also focusing on ISO 42001. So I
Hmm.
also wanted to ensure to cover this that there are a lot of controls that you can do. People are doing assessments, readiness, wants are targeting to go for ISO 42001 certification as well for governance and overall usage uh, uh, process and policies. So this is also one of the control that a lot of companies are going for. Yeah,
So,
back to you.
yeah, I mean, I mean, really, it was really great to hear that, right? So the way you explained. So I think definitely the approach is different from a different perspective, and also it's like it's not one size fits all. It's more of a someone looking for a compliance standpoint, they come from a compliance, maybe NIST controls and stuff like that. Somebody exactly looking from a SOC standpoint, they go to the use cases and all. Now if I may, like, mostly when you talk about compliance is always a different element altogether, right? That's more of detailed view of what controls you have, right? But when you talk about SOC and security response around AI, right? So do you think that doing the red teaming is a regular practice and should happen, like we big organization, right, to maintain their standard, they do every quarter, for example, red teaming, right? So do you think that for AI apps also that should happen? And if you think that's the case, then how that can be taken into consideration?
Okay, so maybe just to add a point to that, I think red teaming is very, very important, especially when you begin
Yeah.
with it. But ongoing vulnerability checks, it can be pen testing, it can be red teaming, all that is very important. We have something called MITRE Atlas framework. We have
Right.
something called OSAP top 10 for LLMs that you should map yourself to and
Right.
keep doing it. Like to make at least our life easy, what we have done is in Foundry, we have built a AI red teaming agent. So like I don't
Okay.
have to put 10 people to do a red teaming day in, day out, like morning,
Nice.
night, and you know how ethical
It is
hackers are.
tedious. It is
Yeah,
tedious as well. Like for the rest of the business, it's tedious. Like if that
yes,
happens, there is an impact to the business. Okay.
correct.
Right.
So you can always go for it. Like for example, one of the customers, they are using red team agent, but
Right.
that does not stop you from getting annual
Right.
and manual red teaming done
Manual.
as well, right?
Correct. Correct. Makes
So
sense.
that is always there, but this is, I think, what I think. Maybe Shalab, you have anything to add?
No, I agree. And I mean, red teaming obviously is indispensable. We have Pirate, like, and have integration with Foundry also. But along with red teaming, because it can be disruptive, as you said, right? When that activity
Yeah.
is going on, you need sign off, you need monitor the people who have eyes on the glass will see all sorts of things. It's a competition between
Exactly.
both the teams, right?
Yes.
But I think effective threat modeling also should be something that is not overlooked, right? So even if you do simple stride based, and I'm not saying use tools, you can obviously refer to the Microsoft threat modeling tool, but even a pen paper exercise where you're just noting down the assets and the attack
Hmm.
vectors which are possible will
Right.
definitely help in augmenting the security posture altogether. Of course, there will be gaps for which you have red teaming exercises, but effective threat modeling, I think, is also something which should be taken.
Right. So I mean, that's a really a nice point, right? Now, when you say red teaming and stuff like that, right? So I'd say one of the things what I've seen, right, and that may be specifically applicable to AI and LLM, the data drift and data poisoning stuff out of it, right? Now, when this activity happens and we try to do with the customer, right? Do you think there's a pushback from business that you cannot test with our data because this is business sensitive? Have you seen that case, or do you think this is kind of a real thing, or this is just kind of a myth? People think about it's all safe to use data drift or actual data in red teaming and pen testing. So, so if I may just
How do you want
rephrase
to
that.
take it from a
Yeah,
customer perspective? How will
yeah,
we probably?
how do you want to convey that to the customer? Because you understand that, whenever you go with the data part of it, obviously, I mean, enterprise customer have their own models when they feed in their own data, and then obviously an organization
Mhm.
is very common to happen that, right, they will have some wrong data, some right data, like same file, two copies, different information kind of stuff, right? And then they business don't want always that to hit to the red teaming stuff, right? But for model to work efficiently, right, I think that's also important. So how would you
No,
take
So,
forward?
yeah, so I think like if I have to do personally, I have to do all this. So
Yeah.
there's always a balance. That's where on the network side as well and on our application side as well, there's always a balance between your red teaming and your vulnerability management, VAPTs, and your pen testing and your posture management. So like if I'm uh, running this show for my with my team, if I have a model that I've brought into Foundry and I'm trying to build something, I might do a red teaming, but
Okay.
I might not repeat it for a long, long time because then I bring in the other controls like a pen testing, a
Right.
quarterly pen testing. I might bring in my 24 by 7. posture control, hardening controls, and everything. So this is maybe a wrong example. I'm just thinking on top of my mind. This is like a file drill. You can't do it. Like I can't push
Every now
all
and
my
then.
employees out of my office every day,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So red
Yeah.
teaming, specifically red teaming, should be planned in a very systematic way.
Hmm.
And red teaming is very extreme. It's like surgery.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
pen
I mean,
testing and all is like simple blood test and normal
correct.
checks. So
Yeah.
sometimes you don't need a surgery every time. You need the regular checks. And I think the good way will be red team is very important when you begin with.
Hmm.
And then you get into the usual controls, and then you repeat red teaming when you think it's been long or there's some changes in the thing. So I think that should be done. Or of course, a defined period, like I was saying, generally annual is a good enough period.
Right.
So this is my view on
Right.
scoping red teaming
So I
for
think
model.
that's really nice to like the way you put it, right? So for example,
Mm.
if I may summarize, when you're starting your LLM journey, do the red teaming, to make sure that you start very well, and then put governance around throughout the life cycle that you don't might not need it very regularly, but yeah, you can still plan that once in a while if needed. That kind of a journey, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, this when you talk about red teaming and testing, so that brings maybe another question, right? What kind of threat landscape do we see? Is it like conventional with our existing applications, or is it something different? Obviously, with AI, like, and if you could give some example, whatever you have seen, like, what is the different threat landscape with AI apps and LLMs and agents you're seeing these days?
Shamik, that's a good question because see, generally what happens is if you see the zero trust pillars,
Yeah.
so all your endpoints, identities, applications, network data, all those things, cloud. So your attack surface has been limited to it. Now what has happened is you have started using AI. That means you're using prompts, responses, models. You're
Yeah.
training the data. You have RAGs, a lot of
Yeah.
things. So now with that, the threat landscape has increased because of data leakage, jailbreak, indirect prompt injection. Now I don't have to break everything to harm you or get some sort of control. Even I can bias the model. There's a model
Exactly.
theft that is very common, right? So if I can do all these activities, even with small amount of success, I can give big impact, unlike the old one, right?
Right.
Like for example, if I don't want to name companies, it is not nice, but imagine if three of us have our big corporates and we have our own models, and
Right.
my model will become there's a everybody starts experiencing hallucinations and biasness in my models. It
Right.
takes like in the age of LinkedIn, Twitter, and all, it will take like few hours for me to just vanish from the market. So
Yeah.
that's the impact it can cause. So I think that's where the threat landscape and everything has changed, and that's why it is demanding so much attention as well. The
This.
zero trust pillars are changing accordingly. The defense in depth is changing accordingly. So yeah, I think that's one way to
Uh,
look at it.
yeah. This
Yeah,
reminds me. Yeah. Sorry, Salil.
and
Go ahead.
sorry if I can just may add over there, right? So I think when incorporating all these new, I mean, LLM is one thing which is mostly experienced through a chatbot, although there are other ways, but mostly experienced through a chatbot. But beyond that, with the protocols and all the things which are basically being done to augment the productivity, right? I think it's very important that people, when they adopt it, they understand the system thoroughly because what I have seen is the technology has been incorporated at a very fast pace, but the implications are not well understood. I'll give you an example. Just like I think this earlier this week, I was reading about an attack, and it's the browsers these days are coming up with agents, right? So that
Right.
you open the browser and then you can say that it will basically summarize the page for you or something like that. So
Right.
I don't now even need to send a phishing mail, etc. So the website itself will have a hidden prompt, maybe in a different font or a small font that you can't read. And as the agent is going ahead and summarizing that, the prompt injection happens, right? I don't need to basically fool the or write complicated malware which will detect EDR. I can simply send benign files with similar looking things, and the somebody in the organization will say, hey, false positive, false positive, false positive. So that next time that the file comes with a slight change, which is making it a dangerous file, the EDR may be trained that, hey, this is a false positive. These are like model poisoning types of attacks. So this should be well understood. What is being consumed by your model? How can you check it thoroughly? And as you adopt these new technologies, let it be MCP or anything, which by the way are superb technology. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but do understand the complications that come with it, and you have enough guardrails in place. And that's why I would again go back to threat modeling thing. A security review is needed before the such
Exactly.
things are adopted.
Exactly. So I think based on what you both summarized, right, I could recollect two examples like for model poisoning, right? I've seen this and I've seen this some of the presentation like a tree is shown as a traffic light to train the model, right? That's a classic example, right? When you train a model saying that tree is a traffic light, then it that's enough, right? That's a small intervention is enough to poison the model. Another thing what I have seen, like I've literally seen people resume, right? They have written resume and at the end they have written in a white font, I'm the best or something like that to just bypass the prompt, right? As an example of prompt injection. So yeah, these are like you don't need to be like super sophisticated attacker. These are very simple hacks which can be included to bypass the controls, right? So yeah, that's been great. I think, and to shut up, right, as you said, the importance of threat modeling, right? So I would say one of the component as a part of threat modeling, if you agree, is third-party risk, right? Now, with a lot of companies using this AI models as SaaS apps, right, and they internally use any third-party data storage or data model to train that, right? So how do you suggest we mitigate that risk in threat modeling itself? Because we are only buying data from a vendor. Let's say I don't know name it again. Just take any vendor, ChatGPT, Perplexity, right? Now they are processing. If you are typing something, we don't know what's behind the scene in the third party. So any way you suggest as a part of threat modeling, we can rule them out, or at least we learn about them.
Yeah, there are a few ways. Of course, you cannot, rule it out completely. But there are ways in which you can see the risk score associated with LLM apps. Like for instance, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps will give you the overall compliance that we have seen because there are a lot of these. I mean,
Right.
I see a new LLM app almost every day now. So what
Yeah.
is the compliance score associated with it? And I would in general say an enterprise built application which is running on your system, the RAG is actually, in your environment. Something like a Copilot helps in reducing the risk altogether because you know what goes in and what is going on with the RAG. But yeah, Aman, feel free to add on to that.
No, I think I mostly agree. It was very simple and straightforward. So yeah.
It's like it. I mean, if I may summarize this, governance is the key to the answer, right? You put the governance in a way that you measure them properly before you get started. I mean, that's really cool. Now, I mean, from the beginning, we understood, we took some example of LLM and AI security and agents, right? And then we also understood what are the frameworks available, right? Now, let's say there has some penetration and there is an attack through an LLM application or there is a model poisoning already happening in an organization, right? And then we are brought in there, right? So as a security person or security expert, right? How do you kind of mitigate that scenario? And when you look at that, right? I'd also request you to look at from a different angles of like again the small size business, the mid size, and maybe the enterprise, right? So how do we address if let's say something happened, like extinguishing the fire? How do you approach those scenarios?
Yeah, I would take it in a slightly different way because, of course, the amount of resources an organization will put in, depending on their size, will be vastly different. Like something like an SMC or vast amount of mid market, mid cap companies, as we call them, they have mostly outsourced MSSP operations, while the bigger one enterprise may have their in-house. So, of course, I mean, if you ask me, if you're running, so we have something called as AI shared responsibility model, which will actually show you where that particular model is kept. If you're completely owning it, you of course own that part of the risk also. But if you're using, and then you have past solutions like, from Microsoft side, like Foundry, etc., where you can host it in an environment, but the hosting part is with us. And then you have like SaaS solutions like Copilot. If you are using the first one in which you're hosting it and doing everything yourself, I would strongly recommend putting proper guardrails on the infrastructure. The best, if you ask me, put it on something like Azure Confidential Computing so that you have
Right.
proper attestation of what goes in and what comes out. But then if the attack were to happen, I think a SOC which is coming with a unified data lake, which can, see through different prompt injection, correlate it, with different other vectors which are happening. That is most important. And your SOC, personnel should also be trained to, respond properly to this AI related things.
Well, so yeah, I mean, thank you for again answering that in a very detailed way, right? So now you did mention a term about training. And if you look at the current SOC, right, it's only, I mean, I would say it's mostly reactive, right? Hardly it is proactive. I mean, obviously you're using SAS controls with, let's say, Defender for Cloud Apps or entire Defender suite with Unified Security Portal. Defender does like a lot of heavy lifting, so that's where it becomes proactive. But from a SOC support perspective, it's say majority of the cases are still reactive, right? So in that case, what would be their, their playbook to ramp up on supporting AI security, supporting AI use case and things like that?
So see, in the best thing I like about security is you need every 2 years you need to pivot. Like
Mhm.
my first security role was in 2008, 2010 maybe. But that time security was ISO 27001 and maximum 31001 for risk. Right. So that we used to do. We used to do audits, we used to do consulting, we used to do a lot of things. We
Right.
got into security. Maximum technology we used to handle was ArcSight and next gen, and not even next gen, antivirus. We just used to call it a antivirus. NGAV came, EDR came, XDR came, SIM came. So it never even existed before 2017 or 2018, whenever Gartner had coined it. So the things keep changing with AI as well. I would say now the technology is changing. Cloud came, we skilled ourselves on cloud. COVID came, majority of, I think, except the tech sector, no other sector was ready for work from home and remote working and others. They might be
Correct.
ready, a majority I'm saying, but then came in SASE, SD-WAN, people learned about it and upskill them. So I think AI, the same thing, we need to upskill about it. We need to learn about it. The top 10 LLMs, top 10 keep changing. We need to educate ourselves how it's going on. Try it. There's no replacement for hands-on. So keep trying, keep testing. You need to skill yourself up. But I strongly believe, like 3 years back, I didn't knew anything on AI, right? And today, maybe you are asking me to talk here, but the point is, one thing that everybody brings to the table is experience. Like when I think of defense in depth, or when I think of a kill chain, when I
Right.
used to do a VAPT, or when I used to operate a SIM, or when I used to operate XDR, and now when I am operating AI, the thinking remains the same. The concept, how somebody will try to break in, how you need to ensure your BCPDR, your resiliency is in place, how you need to ensure processes should be tweaked to ensure the new threat landscape and threat actors. So the experience plays a big role. It's all about skill. So I think keep skilling yourself up. But now I think even skilling is becoming very not easy, not very easy, maybe easy. Like for example, if I will just share this as an example, if you want to learn anything about, like for example, how you do red teaming of AI agents or LLMs, right? Just
Correct.
go to any model, ask what is MITRE Atlas and how do you do red teaming? It will give you
Correct.
some ask 10 more questions. I don't know, like people who are Lean Six Sigma certified, like I used to do that almost 1.5 decades back. So there was a concept called five whys. So if you ask five whys, you get to the root cause. And then there was a
Correct.
bigger model,
Yeah.
right? In AI, you ask 10 questions, just ask 10 follow-up questions. You will, by the end of those 10 answers, of course, you are reading the answer, I'm assuming. After that, you will have good enough knowledge to at least begin your hands-on. So learning is also becoming easy because now you don't have to waste time searching for good documentation, good links and good study materials. And it's
Mhm.
always tons of stuff is available on YouTube and all. So I think skilling is very important. You should get started. There is buckload of information available on the internet. Just follow this approach. You will follow, use AI to upskill about AI.
Right. So what basically you're saying that learn AI with AI, right?
Yeah, and
Um,
ask innovative questions. Like for example, I'm sure everybody is asking in good questions, but like I will give you an example. If somebody was wondering, uh, okay, like I showed you UEBA use cases, right?
right.
Ask AI to create a table for you comparing what can be UEBA use cases for a user compared to LLM. Let it do the work for you, and then
Correct.
you read that and you realize something, and then you ask
Yeah.
a follow-up question. So make the tough work, delegate the tough work to AI. Make it create
Right.
tables for you, documents for you, diagrams for you, whichever way your brain is ready to learn.
Correct. Yeah, I think the way you pointed out, right? So I think personally me, I have figured out understanding MITRE is one thing, but applying MITRE to detection rule is like really tough thing, right? So I think that's one of the use cases which I learned, and I'm not saying I really do good well, but I at least can map by seeing detection. I can map the MITRE techniques and tactics now, just by asking some let's just to exemplize, like let's say I have Windows machines. How do I map it to MITRE kill chain? What is the one? So I completely agree with that. Now that's one thing. I'll do a little bit of pivot here. Let's say when you say learning AI with AI, right? At the same time, I've seen also people they will start asking question, and then whatever AI splits out. Maybe they'll ask for example, I'm uh, often talk about KQL. So ask about a KQL query, they copy and paste it, and then send it to someone else. And eventually, you say that table doesn't exist, right? The first line of the query is wrong. So do you think in that cases, especially for the enterprises, putting an agent towards it and then making the learning as supervised learning is more meaningful? Let's say someone want to learn red teaming, someone want to learn blue teaming, someone want to learn about detections only. Do you think that's the nice way, or is there any alternative you have thoughts about?
No, I think that's a good starting point. You will anyway need to go in, like the KQL example you gave. Of course, it will write the query for you, but it's like it's like I don't thinking of example, buying frozen fries. Okay, you can put it
Yeah,
into air fryer, but you need to put some sort, something you need to customize if you like it that way,
correct,
right? It's like having a cook. So model is like a cook.
correct.
He or she can come to your home, but if your family have the food in such a particular way and my family, and so you will give those instructions. So
Yeah,
blind copy and the model. See, that's where a difference comes. Like if you have Security Copilot, which is a model inside your network, inside your tools, then it
exactly,
has access to your tables.
exactly.
A model sitting on internet has no clue how you have defined
Yeah,
things on your laptop and in your tenant and in your workspace.
makes
So
sense.
that level of thing, of course, and like in AI internally also we use this slang a lot. Like this is a army slang. So we say man behind the machine, right? So you need final trigger. Everything cannot be done by AI. So that is also thing. You can use it to your advantage. But yeah, I think that's where the human element come in, and you need to use that and try to see how you can better leverage it.
Right. Yeah, this is really fantastic, right? So I would say again, just to start with the things, right? We start talked about AI and adoption and things like that, right? Now, let's say we are doing a vision board with uh, manufacturing industry, for example, right? With AI, what would be your first, let's say, 5 points on the vision board? Like this is what the industry should do in next 5 years or 3 years with AI, right?
So maybe I will start with saying that at least to my surprise, I was very surprised to see that manufacturing, and maybe this might be a fun fact for all of you, manufacturing is using and investing in AI as strong as a technology company. So I see, and I will not take names, but yeah, manufacturing companies, especially automobile, especially like building technologies for maybe healthcare, the machines and a lot of stuff. So they are doing a lot compared to a construction company, right? Airports, you imagine, I'm sure most of you use Digiyatra and all. It is not
Yeah,
AI, but the automation that comes in, right?
correct.
There's you are eliminating the human in the loop. So that also gives an example of automating processes. So I would say that manufacturing also can be broken down into multiple things. Now, for automobile, it is very critical also. Like imagine a Tesla, somebody builds process for stuff similar to Tesla. Now you were
Mm,
giving that example of a tree and a red light. Imagine
exactly.
that model does it. You are gone, you don't stop
Yes,
and you hit, right?
exactly.
So so I don't know what the term is, but uh, the meaning is basically when the life gets involved,
Right.
the criticality and the seriousness becomes important. So
Mm,
that's where manufacturing, I would say, automobile is becoming more and more strict in using AI and how
mm,
they can use and adopt AI. Like we have the Ubers and Olas of the world. I'm just taking general name for both of them. Like if you
correct.
study their model, all their cars send data to Azure or clouds and then gets redistributed. So there is a
Correct.
central team that tracks everything. Now, one wrong decision and the tracking goes away, right? So manufacturing, I would distribute into three parts. One is critical infrastructure, which I will
Right.
say that they are not even touching AI for now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about India and maybe a small set of companies that I'm closely associated with. They are not touching AI, but they are still touching AI on other fronts. That means, again, without naming anyone, one government agency is trying to use AI that if they are listening to a call and that call is going on in whatever language you can imagine,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
right?
right.
In our neighbor's language or anywhere.
Yeah.
Somebody should be able to do a live translation and I can listen. I should be able to listen in English or Hindi. So people are using AI, but they are using AI for very, very specific things. Now
Okay.
comes manufacturing companies like the big ones, Reliance,
Yeah.
L&Ts, and I'm just taking random names here. But if you see their model, if I'm building a bridge or a metro,
Mm,
majority of my workforce is on the ground,
correct.
right? Okay, maybe only 10% of people have access to iPads and laptops where they are building some designs and trying to whatever
Correct.
they call CDAC or some they are trying to do, right?
Correct.
Compared to an automobile, like since you are from Bangalore, I will give a Bangalore example. There are so many assembly lines in Hosur
Yeah.
controlled remotely, right? One
Yeah.
wrong decision and
That
like big company
spoils.
in Hosur, everything is controlled from Chennai. You can guess,
Yeah.
people can guess who it is. But
Yeah.
so I think in manufacturing, there are flavors of these three parts, but manufacturing is growing very fast and they are trying to adopt to these models. They are already a lot of automobile companies I know, they are already on enterprise AI models and they have put in a strict policy on only AI, enterprise AIs only. One more point I want to mention because this is a very fresh chain of thought. In India, every manufacturing company has a technology arm also. You can imagine in your head, right?
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah. Yeah.
it's ITC, L&T, Adani, Reliance, everybody will have a platform technology company in parallel. So
Right.
that's where they're trying to see how best and how fast they can complement within the group itself. And yeah, I'm personally happy to see the speed they are catching up, and they're as fast as maybe the IT companies or the technology companies.
Mm, right. I mean, you rightly pointed out, right? There are two segments. One is using AI into your core business, which you gave an example of manufacturing, and then designing bridges, designing cars, and anything for that matter, or maybe for that matter, running a remote factory, right? And then there is a separate section for user education, wherein they can use normal chatbots, where guardrail need not to be that strong, but if you are using AI for your core business, it has to be governed by a very strict policy, almost you say a no tolerance policy, right? Because it impacts, end of the day, it impacts business, impacts life. So yeah, I mean, that's really a great thing to know. I think this has been great altogether, right? So yeah, I'd say Salav has been really quite majority of the time. So maybe I'll go directly. One saying that, what's your take maybe towards AI as a technology from a security perspective, right? For next maybe 5 years would be too long, I'd say. Let's stick to 3 years. What you see?
Yeah, I think AI. will be seen in two parts, what internally we call as securing the AI and using AI for security, right? I think as technology is basically exponentially increasing, the attack surface, like Aman talked about, is increasing so much that it's even beyond the, a lot of SOCs do not even have proper understanding of what to see, what to govern, what to monitor, right? So their AI is going to be used to augment the capacity of the person who's having eyes on the screen, maybe the level two engineer, etc.,
Right.
and basically offload a lot of the work there. The second part, which I think will be of much more greater concern, is as these are being adopted, and this will be adopted, it will AI is now we see the hype curve, right? You go up and then you mature. I think we are now
Correct.
coming on in the maturity phase of AI.
Yeah.
So I think their proper protocols and guardrails will come about, and AI, there'll be a lot of supervision on how AI is being adopted. And within the organization, you will see a lot of rigor around trying to protect it so that you can have productivity along with security at the same.
That's really really neat.
And
Neat.
see,
Yeah.
just to add one thought to it, a very random thought, but
Yeah.
I think it is very, very difficult question because if you ask me, I don't know where 3 years things will be. Why I am saying that? I will give you my personal experience. 2, 3 days back, I was seeing an interview. I don't know whether it was Google AI officer or some person. You can find it on internet. Sorry, you can find it on internet. It was saying that in 3 years, AI will replace all workforce and AI will become everything. Then there was an article that was saying that AI will be used for quantum. Sorry, AI will be used by quantum to break key encryptions and everything. And in 3 years, we will be able to achieve that. Maybe it
Right.
is possible if I see the technology. Now, these articles trend because it grabs attention. But
Correct.
unfortunately, when I see 90% of my team, they are using AI only to write mails and creating their own photos on Gemini or ChatGPT. So I don't know how people are using AI and doing AI basically, but it is a very powerful tool. I think how people will accept it and use it will define how 3 years will pan out.
Mm.
But I think 2022 was the first time really spoke in public about very strongly about AI and did all that. It's 2025. I still see people drafting documents and emails and out of offices
Mm.
and creating photos. Maybe some of them, very small percentage of them are really using it for like, I don't know if you have heard about that wife coding and all those
Right.
things.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But again, a lot of questions comes in. Vibe coding means if anybody can just think and code, I don't need AI, IT companies. No, we need. So
Yeah.
there are too many things, too many gray areas. I think that's why it is a very, very difficult question. I think it is possible. A lot of things are
Yeah.
possible. But yeah, when I see around, I just am not
Yeah.
motivated enough.
Right. I mean, thank you for adding different perspective, right? This differently gives a fair idea. Like, we are still open to human mind that the way we want to pivot, we can evolve with AI. That's the fundamental idea here,
So
right?
I will, and sorry if maybe taking more time, but I will
All good.
add one more example. One of my teammate, I don't know if you have used, there's a AI called Sky on the Indigo website or app, SKAI. It can book the entire ticket for you. You just put questions and it will do
Mm.
everything for you. Sorry, it will do everything for you, right? Uh, but once the ticket is booked, I saw that person calling Indigo or calling a human every time to say, "Hua na, it's done, it's done, it's done."
Right.
So that assurance, I think, will also take time. So a lot of things
Exactly.
will do contribute to this.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's been great. And then maybe I would like to ask maybe a final one to both of you, right? So we have talked only about the industry and the mature people, enterprises, and the professional, right? So, uh, again, it would be definitely I'd like to hear from both of you that somebody starting, like when we started, we really went that PHP code written in Notepad and then wrote in Notepad in machine and then compiled and things like that, right? Compared to that, where we are today, right? So anybody passing out college, right? Uh, what should be your suggestion towards them? Like, because if if they start using AI, they don't learn the basics. At the same time, to pick up the pace, they also need to learn, right? So what would be your suggestion to them, like how they can evolve in their career, especially in security as well, somebody who is aspiring to be a security consultant or security specialist in the career?
So I'll give you my perspective, right? And this is probably a good time. We are doing a hackathon, global hackathon in Microsoft right now. It's an every year event. And I can see some of the younger folks who are just out of college, maybe 1 or 2 years, the way they think, the way they approach things is very different from probably some of us who have been a little old. um, I think the people who are just coming out of college or maybe in their final semester, etc., right? They have a huge opportunity because they have seen AI evolving as within their learning time, right? Within their projects, etc. For most of us, like Aman said, is writing emails. Hey, could you make it better? This text, right? Can you help me design that PPT or make my photo better?
Right, right.
But if you ask me, with the type of tools that are there today, I mean, you can things like Taskmaster, right? You can write a complete PRD. It'll create a pure project plan for you. Put it in a vibe coding app like Lovable or
Yeah,
Replit or something. It'll create everything. You don't need like a project manager or everything. So uh, I think people should be really very AI savvy. The people who are now coming out, they should know each of these steps, which some of the most seasoned folks are not using. And from a security perspective, if they're very well aware on how AI is being used in every stage, that will tune their mindset into designing proper guardrails for it. If the mindset is there, they can learn and grow anywhere they like.
that's really fantastic to know. Yeah, Aman, over to you then.
No, I agree. I agree. And I think it also aligns to that skill question that we discussed before. Um, I assume the people coming out of college are more tech savvy and they're already being exposed to all these tools and technology at such early age. I remember buying my first computer in 11th maybe, or I don't even remember now. So it's good for them. I think again it comes down to the fact that do you use it as a blessing and empowerment, or just you use it as a
Right.
fun, right? So it will
Yep.
all come down to that.
Sure. I think that's fantastic. And with that said, as I said, it was the concluding question. I really,
Mm.
like to summarize where you started with security AI, looking at the lens of security to ever and the approach, and also start how someone can do that. What are the wronggoings can happen? What are the right approach, right? So I'd really like to thank you both for being wonderful and being really vocal and talk about the real ground program, right? So with that said, thank you for joining, right? And thank you to the audience who have joined. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.